Having rheumatoid arthritis can be life-changing. It can have an impact on daily life and how you're able to interact with your friends and family. Talking to family about your illness can be challenging. We ask a group of people living with RA to share their experiences with this. These are the perspectives of other patients. This is not medical advice and should not take the place of professional medical care.
It's a learning curve for me. There's no clear-cut answer here because you learn yourself how to communicate and share about RA with your loved ones.
My mom has RA and severe RA. So I got to grow up with it. There was a lot that I did not understand about my mom and why she was in the bed suffering. And as an adult and having RA, I'm able to understand that RA did not make my mom weak, made her strong. And my boys need to understand that about me, is that Daddy's going to suffer sometimes, and that doesn't make Daddy weak. Because I think as young kids, they need some reassurance that Daddy's going to be there. Nothing's going to take Daddy away from them.
I've experienced the hard parts because I am the first person in my family to have an autoimmune disease, let alone autoimmune arthritis. The first thing I want to say is be patient. Be patient with your family. Be patient with your friends. I know how hard it is. I waited years for my family to understand. And one of the things that changed that was my mom having a hysterectomy. And for the first time in her life, she needed help with basic things like washing her hair, showering, bending over to put on clothes, all the things that I have experienced. And at this point, this was 15 years after I had been diagnosed. It was at that moment that it clicked for her. And she has been a huge support to me ever since.
Family, friends, they really want to take RA and put it in a nice little neat box. And so what I've done with my family in particular, and some of my closest friends, they know I love Godzilla. I am an absolute, when I am in a flare and I don't feel well, I will pop on an old Godzilla movie and just watch it and just help myself to relax. So sort of dawned on me one day, when I'm telling people, my family and friends, like I'm really sick, I'll tell them Godzilla is raging in my body. I find that using things like that to really get them to like have little signals into what's going on in my life really, really helps.
Growing up with a mother who had had RA for my whole life, I grew up seeing her struggle, and she didn't really talk much about her disease, but I saw the effects of it, whether it be just the symptoms of the disease or her intolerance to medications, her inability to do the things that she wanted to do or be present in our lives. My husband is who spilled the beans, if you will, to my kids. And it caught me off guard. I was like, what? You told our kids that I have RA? And he was like, what? It is what it is. But to me, that was just a big moment because like, oh no, now they know mom is sick. All the kids come to mom when they need something, when they're sick. And I didn't want them to feel like I wasn't able to do all the things with them. It's your story to tell. It's your disease process. It's your experience. I don't think that you should completely shut people out, but it's got to be at the level that you're comfortable with and the amount of information that you want to share.
I come from India. Illness is a very private thing. You don't talk about it very openly in India. I didn't even realize it. It took me a long time to talk about RA. Even with my family and friends, there were a lot of questions about, what kinds of medications to take, etc., what it might do to my life, what kind of support I have. I think for my parents, that was the biggest concern. What kind of support do you have? It makes it even more harder when you have such a close support system because they feel what you feel. So, when they see me in pain and when they see that I'm not able to do the things that I want to do, they feel as much grief and anxiety for me as I do for myself.
It has been a journey to learn to accept people where they are and meet them where they're at. For example, my friend who doesn't really get it, the one thing that has been so helpful to me about her, even though she doesn't have as much compassion as some other people in my life, is that she is someone I can always rely on to bring me joy. She's someone who's just fully energetic, always happy, always laughing, dancing, singing. The best advice I would have for someone going through RA is find a person that you can bounce ideas off of. Find someone that maybe doesn't need to go with you to your appointment, but that you can call them after and say, hey, this is what my doctor said. At the moment, I was a little bit in shock, so I didn't have a response. But what do you think about this?
I had an interesting situation with a family member that didn't understand why I was taking certain medications for my RA. And they were trying to convince me there was a better way. You know, I could do the holistic approach. I could take these herbs, this vitamin, plus this tea, and drink more water, and RA will just magically go away, versus taking the medication, which I sort of chuckled at and just said, you know, be patient, understand the process, and just watch and trust. And over time, as they saw my quality of life improve significantly, they have come back and said, you know, I understand why you resisted. It's a tricky situation, but I'm glad things have worked themselves out.